This is something that I'd never heard of. Class myself as a really driven person, brain fog, unable to concentrate, lack of energy. I genuinely thought I had dementia. Testosterone levels are low and you need help. That I actually tried to take my own life. I don't know what to do.
Hello everybody and welcome to the channel. I am so excited to be interviewing my first guest today. Today I've got Justine. I'll introduce him in a second, but before I do that, I'm Jo Banks. I spent 20 years as a senior HR professional before I set up my own coaching practice nearly 15 years ago now. A year ago now, I wrote an article on Andropause and Justine commented on it. And so I reached out to Justine, had a conversation with him on Monday. We're Friday now, and that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about the devastating effects of low testosterone in men and how to combat it. So, Justine, welcome. Do you just want to give the viewers a little bit about you and what you do for a living?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have worked in recruitment for nearly 20 years. I own my own recruitment company. We actually specialise in the veterinary industry. So we work with vet clinics all over the UK and all over the US. So yeah, the biggest part of my working life is taken up with kind of running the business on a day-to-day basis. And ensuring that everything's kind of going smoothly, I guess.
Fantastic. So let's get into the detail of why we're here today. Do you want to just kind of set the scene and just tell us more about your journey with this whole andropause thing?
Yeah, of course. I guess for me, this is something that I'd never heard of until I was actually diagnosed with the condition. I'd been having a lot of issues for a couple of years. The main ones were brain fog, unable to concentrate, lack of energy. I would class myself as a really driven person, always wanting to kind of, be the first to work, the last to leave. Always have targets, whether that's on a personal basis or for the business. And I'd gone through years of just slowly declining, just lack of energy, not wanting to get up to go to work in the mornings, absolute brain fog, which when people say they get brain fog, I went through a spell of a couple of weeks where a lot of strange things happened to me. The first one was I left work, normal working day, jumped in the car, drove home, pulled up on the driveway. There was two cars on the driveway, didn't know whose cars they were. I was kind of getting a bit annoyed that somebody parked in my space. Took the keys out, put them in the door wouldn't open. Getting annoyed, why couldn't I get into my own house? All of a sudden the door opens, there's a guy stood there, and I realised I sold that house 2 years ago and I didn't live there.
Wow.
And just panic set in. You're trying to get into someone else's house. What do you say? I'd met the guy when because he bought the house from us. So obviously when he been to view the property, so he knew who I was, so there's no getting away with it. And I just panicked and I just said, "Oh, I'm really sorry, I'm not sure why I'm trying to use my key, just trying to get to see if there was any post for me." And he said, "No, that's no post." And I was like, "I'm so sorry." And I jumped in my car and just drove away as quickly as I could, thinking, "What am I doing?" About 2 or 3 days later, again in my car, pulled up at a roundabout, and there was no other cars around, and I couldn't remember for the life of me whether I had to go left or right around the roundabout. Sat there thinking, which way do I go? Car pulled up behind me, the car's beeping at me, so I've just put my hazard lights on, pretended I'd broke down, let him go round, and then followed him around the car. So there was like 2, 3, 4 different things. It's all happened in a really small space of time, and it was really, really strange. And I went home and spoke to my wife and told her everything that was going on, and she knew there was issues, but she didn't know to kind of the extent that what was going on. Um, yeah, so I kind of got, she said to me, "You've got to see a doctor," and I genuinely thought I had dementia. I thought,
Can I just
unfortunately,
ask you? Sorry to interrupt you just for a
yeah,
second.
yeah,
How old were you?
40. I
Okay.
think 39, 40 when all this was going on. And yeah, it was, not, I like to think that I'm quite fit and healthy, and I kind of try and look after myself. That was another thing that I used to go to the gym all the time, and then when all this was going on, I just had no energy. I stopped going to the gym. Because I stopped going to the gym, I put weight on. You put weight on, you kind of feel a bit more lethargic, and it was just this horrible cycle that I was in. I just couldn't get out of. And yeah, I like I say, unfortunately, my nan passed away with dementia, and I genuinely thought I've got early sort of signs of it, and that's where I thought I was going. So yeah, I was in a really bad way.
Yeah.
So yeah, from there, I guess really, like I say, my wife said to me, "You've got to see a doctor," which for me, I guess, like a lot of men, we find it hard to go to the
Yeah.
doctor and open up and and say what's going on. All of this was happening, by the way, sort of around about 2020. Um, so we were going through kind of the COVID situation as
Yeah.
well. So when I went to the doctor explained what's going on, and I actually said to the doctor, "I think I've got dementia. I can't remember things. I can't do this. I can't do that." Told him what happened with the house, with the roundabout, and he just looked at me and went, "You haven't got dementia." He said, "Because you can remember going to the wrong house, and you can remember the roundabout incident and things like this." And I was like, "Okay, that kind of makes sense, I guess."
Useful to know.
but there is an issue. He didn't ask me any questions at all. Just looked at me. Didn't ask me what I did for a job. I think he thought I was there to try and get a ticket to be signed off of work, which couldn't have been further from the truth. I wanted to get back. When you've got your own business, you want to get
Absolutely.
back to work, and you want to be driving that business
Yeah.
forward,
Yeah.
especially through COVID. Where
Mhm.
businesses were literally struggling to get through it as it was. Um, and he just said to me, he said, "I think you're stressed." He gave me a leaflet and said, "Bring this number and have a chat with someone, and they'll help you out." I literally left the doctor's office, sat in the car, sat in the car park with the doctors, and just cried. And that was the
Wow.
first time that I really realised I've got some major issues here. And I just sat there and cried and cried and cried, and thought, okay, the doctor won't help me. That's fine. Drove home. My wife says to me, "How did it go with the doctors?" I said, "Oh, he's given me this leaflet." And she's brilliant. She said, "No, no, it's not just stress. There's something else there." Blah blah. And I was like,
Wow.
so we kept kind of going for another couple of months, I guess, and then things were happening. Things weren't getting any easier. Um, I remember a couple of occasions where literally my wife had to literally drag me out of bed and say, "You've got to go to work. You cannot just laze around. You've got to go to work. You've got to keep going." And if it wasn't for her, I probably would have just laid in bed all day going, "I've had enough." And yeah, I've ummed and ahed whether to kind of say this next bit since we chatted on Monday. But I think it is important that people kind of know what happened. But I got so low that I actually tried to take my own life, which I'm not
Wow.
proud of. I'm not. There's the reason I am denied whether to say it on here. There is literally a handful of people that know what went on. And this was September the 11th, 2020. This happened, and I thought by saying it on here that people that I know are going to hopefully watch this, and they're not going to know what happened. But when I get to something in a minute that I want to talk about, I think it's really important actually that people understand how low I got with it and how it really, really affected me. So yeah, it was horrible. Um, and my wife found me, luckily.
Wow.
And that was it then. She was like, right, we've got to get this sorted. And it was never, you've got to get this sorted. It was, we've got to get this sorted. She was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, she then set me up to see a private GP, which was, I guess it was better than seeing an NHS GP because when you're paying, you get more time. They'll sit and they'll
You do.
listen.
Yeah.
And I again went through everything that was going on. I explained everything. And this GP said to me, oh, you've got depression and anxiety, and wrote me a prescription. Um, I don't know why I did it, but I said to her, that's not it. And I gave the prescription back. I said, I don't want the pills. I said, I've got nothing to be depressed about. I said, I've got a great life. I've got a great family. I've got, no issues going on, apart from COVID at the time, which everyone was going through. Um,
Yeah.
I said, it's not depression and anxiety. It's not. So I thanked her for her time, gave her the prescription back and left again going,
Wow.
that's it. No, I don't know what to do. I don't know what direction to go in. That's two doctors, and neither of them were willing to. I knew. I find it really hard to explain this, but I knew something was wrong internally, but I couldn't explain what was going on. But I knew that there was something there, and I knew it had to be sorted. Um, so yeah, that again, another sort of 3, 4 months goes by, and really, it's just about just keep going. My life at that point was horrendous because obviously Lydia was constantly, so my wife was constantly checking, where are you? Because anytime I
Yeah, she must have been so scared during all of that going on. I can't imagine the
and
pressure as
so
well for her.
I just needed to, just to keep going. I I live my life that I believe everything happens for a reason. That's the way I've always lived my life. And at certain times, you might go through something or you might meet someone and you never really know why straight away, but it might become apparent later down the line. And this is exactly what happened to me. A few years before COVID, there was a person that I'd been chatting with that was interested in buying my company. And we'd met a couple of times, and actually at the time it wasn't right for me. I didn't want to sell the company, but I really took a liking to this guy, and we stayed in contact, and we connected on LinkedIn. Um, and he is in the healthcare industry. He he owns a lot of physiotherapy clinics and private health clinics and bits and pieces like that. So it's kind of always interesting to bits and pieces he posted on LinkedIn. Now, one day I was sat in the office and he put this post up. It basically read, are you lethargic? Are you around 40 years old? Are you this? Are you that? And it listed all these things. And I read it and I went, yes, 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 yes.
Wow.
And I picked up the phone and I said to him, Ross, this is what you've posted. I am going through every part of that. What is it? What could be going on? So he explained to me about sort of low testosterone levels and the andropause, and I'd never heard of it. Didn't know what it was.
Most people have not heard. I hadn't heard of it until people were bringing it up in those menopause sessions. It's not something that's ever talked about.
Yeah, and it's for me. He said to me, "Right, I'm going to set you up, get some blood tests with one of our doctors, and we're going to kind of have a look and see, what's what." Anyway, went off, got my blood test done, got the results back, and they said yes, testosterone levels are low. We feel that by going on to treatment, that we can really improve your energy levels, your brain fog, and everything else that goes with it. When I started on the treatment, I was on really low dosage. So I'm actually injecting testosterone into myself now twice a week, and the levels were really low. But I think I had like a bit of a maybe like a placebo type effect early on, because they did explain to me it could take sort of 3 months for you to feel any different. But straight away, I think it's the fact that actually, this is going to sound really strange, but I was being told that I had an issue, but I was so relieved that like
Yeah.
somebody believes me, somebody
Yeah.
understands what's going on, and I just wanted to go right, brilliant. Let's get this treatment started and see where it takes us. So yeah, I think early on I had this real uplift, and I was like felt brilliant straight away, and then about 2 weeks later, I describe it as a bit of a crash where I kind of just felt really low again. I'm injecting myself, twice a week, and I'm not really feeling any different, and we're not going anywhere. And so I had the first set of blood tests. So uh, just to talk about numbers, they were saying that when they took my bloods initially, you needed to be around the number that you need to be at was around 29, 30. And I think from memory, I was at 8. So
Wow.
were really, really
Oh
low.
my goodness. No
And then,
wonder you weren't feeling well.
yeah. So then
Gosh.
as the kind of the treatment was kind of going ahead, those numbers came up. Remember the first set of blood tests, they were up to like 12, they got to like 13, 14, and it was coming up gradually, but it was taking a long, long time. It's still sort of 6 months, and I wasn't really feeling much better. Um, and then they upped the dosage a little bit more, and all of a sudden my numbers came up above 30, and I cannot tell you how it changed my life.
Really?
More so than anything else, I can concentrate again. I can sit, before I would sit at work and I could do like 5, 10 minutes at work, and my mind would just go, and I'm like, what was I doing? And now I can actually sit and concentrate and do things and actually work like I used to be able to work. So yeah, it's for me completely changed my life, and because of that, that was why I then started researching it more. I spoke to a number of guys that were on the treatment. I spoke to one guy in particular, and this one will always stay with me. There was a lot of guys that were embarrassed about being on the treatment for one reason or another. But one guy was on the treatment, and his wife didn't even know that he was
Wow.
on the treatment because he was so embarrassed about it. And I was like, for me, I want to get the story out there because
Yeah.
of a number of reasons. Firstly, how it obviously affected me and my family. Um, but I'm not embarrassed in any way because this is not me making a choice on this. This is my body going. This is the way it is. Some people get ill, some people don't, and I just want to get the story out there because last year, within the space of 3 months, two of my friends, same sort of age as me, maybe a year older than me, took their own lives, two in the space of 3 months. And there didn't seem to be any particular reason for it. They weren't in financial difficulties, they weren't going through divorces or anything like that. And it made me go back to my experience and go, well, actually, if I had taken my own life that night, people would have probably thought the same. Why? This is a guy that's got his own business, he's married, he's got kids. And when I started doing more and more research, I realized that, the biggest rate of suicide is males in the age, I think it was 40 to 50 in the UK. Now, unfortunately, I'll never know whether low testosterone levels had anything to do with my two friends taking their own lives, and whether that was why they were feeling low. But I'm kind of like, I'm at that point now where I go, well, I don't want anyone else to do it. I don't want to lose any more friends. I don't want anyone to lose any friends because of this, because it's such an easy fix. Literally, just by taking the treatment has changed my life. So yeah, this is I guess how me and you met, because I wrote
Yeah.
an article on it and I saw your post, and thought you might be interested in reading kind of my story. But that article that I wrote got published in, I think it was 6 different publications, and got picked up by 2 men's health charities for them to use. And I've had in excess of 50 people contact me to thank me for, they read the story, they were feeling very similar, got tested, low testosterone levels, and now they've got treatment.
And I'll leave a link for that article in the description so that people can go. Obviously, they're hearing your story here, but they can also go and read that. I'll leave the link because I think it's so important. But that's
Yeah,
amazing that just by sharing your story, those people have come to you and it's made a massive difference to them.
absolutely. I kind of, when I wrote the article originally, I the first people that wanted to publish it, they read it, and I wasn't really sure whether I actually wanted it publishing or not. And they phoned me and said it was that we have to publish this, and the first one I wrote was more for me than actually to be published. It was me kind of getting my feelings and thoughts on paper, I guess. And so I said to them, look, you can't publish it as it is, because it was very personal and very deep. So I was like, let me rewrite it. And you can use it, if you still want to use it after I've rewritten it, then great. So we got to a deadline, and it needed to be, they said, look, it was going in for, I think it was either sort of mental health week or men's health week, or it was something that they wanted to use it for. And they said, oh, you've got a deadline of 5 o'clock on Friday. And we got to like 5:20 to 6. And I sent it to my wife and said, look, are you happy that this gets published? Because it's going to affect her as well. She was brilliant and said, this isn't about me. She said, this time it's about you and whether you're happy, and what you want to get out of this. If you feel it's going to be beneficial, then do it. And if it's not going to be beneficial, then why would you put yourself through it? So sat and thought about it, and I thought, do you know what? If I publish this and it helps one person, then for me it's been an absolute benefit. So I said, gave the green light and said, yep, go for it. Kind of sat back thinking, you get that little period then, where it's going into a written publication. And then they said, oh, the week after we're going to put it online. And I started panicking, going, oh no. Because I personally, I've taken a lot of bad comments because of it. And
Well, talk to me about that. What kind of bad comments? What have people been saying?
I guess it was just one of them. I guess the funniest one was somebody commented that I was just trying to be a female going through the menopause,
Whoa.
and I was like, I'm not. I think that the name that people call it the
Yeah, it's not a
andropause or
great
the male
name.
menopause. I think that's the issue. I
Yeah.
think if you just call it low testosterone levels,
Yes. Yeah.
I think it doesn't get the bad press that it can
A
sometimes get.
stigma. It's kind of like a but menopause has a stigma.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah, I get that.
So I didn't name it.
Nope.
It's not me calling it that. But I genuinely think that is part of the problem. That and I had and I got to be careful in case they watch this. But I genuinely had somebody come up to me face to face and tell me, what a load of rubbish. This is a load of rubbish. It's not a thing. Blah blah blah. And I just looked at them and smiled, and was like, they don't know. I genuinely hope they actually do watch this, and they see the full story, because,
Yeah.
like I say, I'm not the type of person that gets stuff out in the open. So here we are 3 years later, and only a handful of people know what went on. Because I didn't want the world to know. I'm not that type of person that, I didn't want the sympathy and the people going, oh, poor him. They always come through the only reason it's come out today is because I genuinely think that it is a big part of the story. And with everything that went on with my two friends, like I say, unfortunately, I'll never know whether that was part of what they went through, or whether I could have helped them in any way. But it does niggle at me all the time, and I'm thinking, well, actually, if I get my full story out there and people realise where I was at, if they're feeling that, well, maybe they can just get themselves tested, and then they'll realise there is a way out of it, and there could be, could be treatment that could be massively beneficial to them.
That's absolutely it, isn't it? Because one of the things that I say so frequently, whether it's with one-to-one clients or in training or even in my videos, is we can't change what we're not aware of. And I do hear lots of similarities when I am doing the menopause stuff, because so few people, I didn't know anything about menopause when I went to the doctor. I thought it was something that happened to women in their 60s. I went with low mood, lethargy, depression, anxiety, but I knew there was nothing fundamental, exactly the same as you in terms of, I knew I wasn't depressed. I knew I wasn't anxious because I had a, pretty good life. And luckily, being a woman, the doctor listened to me. But this whole low testosterone is just, it isn't talked about. I picked up on it, and I think we mentioned this when we had our chat on Monday. I knew about the effects of low testosterone because I train I've always done weights for 30 whatever years, and I train with a lot of men, always have done. And I kind of fade into the background for them. So I overhear them talking about all kinds of stuff. And I think guys who do a lot of weight training, because there are bodybuilders in there, and they talk about everything, and they're very well aware of their bodies and things going wrong. And I'd picked up on them talking about this low testosterone. I think that was about a year ago, which prompted me to write that original article. And I was like, well, what's all this? And they were saying, it can start, from what I understand, this decline can start in your early 30s.
That's
And
right. Yeah.
it's quite with menopause, it's estrogen, and estrogen literally drops off a cliff, which is why all of a sudden you can be kind of fine, and then a couple of weeks later, boom, it starts. I understand with men, it's a slower decline.
It is, yeah. You lose. I can't remember the exact figures, but they think it declines by a certain percentage each year. But like you say, it starts from sort of early 30s, but it affects some men more than others.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like I say, for me, I just wanted to help. If I could help one person, then that would be great. But when I've had in excess of 50 people,
I mean, that's amazing.
have actually reached out to me. Yeah, and I always think that if 50 people have reached out to thank me,
yeah,
how many read it and got tested and didn't reach out? So yeah, I'll take every bad comment and every negative comment,
absolutely,
and I'll take it on the chin, because I will always know all the positives that have come out of it as well. So yeah, there's one, again, I'm not going to name names or anything like that, but there's one person in particular that I actually sat and was chatting to, and he had no idea. At this point, I was still keeping everything a secret. I'd started treatment, and I was maybe 6 months into the treatment. I hadn't really done too much with it, I hadn't told anyone. And we were sat chatting over dinner, me and my wife, him and his wife, and we were chatting, and he said to me, he said, I'm really struggling at the minute. And I don't know what prompted him to say it, but he was telling me he's got no energy, he's this and he's that. And he went, and he looked at me and he went, actually, I think I've got dementia. And as soon as he said that, me and my wife both turned and looked at each other and kind of went, and he kind of went, what? Well, why did you? And I was like, go on, just keep going. Tell me what. And of course, the more he told me, and I then told him everything that I'd gone through, he got tested, very low testosterone levels, now on treatment. and phoned me a few weeks ago to tell me how good he's feeling. He's back in the gym. He said, I can't thank you enough for what you've done. And it's like just all this, yeah, all these comments. Like I say, I take all of them and go, brilliant. If I'm helping these people, then
Absolutely. Let me tell you a little bit about those comments, the nasty ones, because I get them now because I'm putting myself out a lot on social media. So, you do get people who judge, you do get people who are mean and cruel. And actually, the way I reframe that is that usually you've triggered something in them deeply rooted. So it's almost a projection of they know they need to do something about that, or they've got some kind of something going on deep inside them that you've rattled. So it could either be that they're jealous of you getting out there and telling your story, and people are listening to you. So it could be a jealousy or an envy, but it also could be a deep rooted almost attack because they know they need to do something about that thing. So we often attack rather than actually look at what's going on inside us. I don't know if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like I say, there's been certain people that have said certain things to me, and yeah, I always I don't get into like
No,
try not to,
let it go.
I don't get into the argument, and I just listen. I wouldn't wish what I've been through on my worst enemy. I
No.
genuinely wouldn't. It was horrendous. But I always think, like, when the males say stuff to me, and I think, if you end up going through this, and then and it turns out that actually your testosterone levels are low and you need help with it, oh, you come back and apologise to me, when that happened, yeah,
Absolutely.
because they may not have even heard of it. I think
No.
that's the issue. No, most people haven't heard of it. Like I said, I'd never heard of it. And hence why I'm trying to get my story out there, because I had no idea which way to turn. Two doctors that neither of them would test me for it, or test me for anything. It was kind of like the first doctor that one always stays with me, because he never asked me what, like, I don't go to the doctor, so it's not as if we had this great relationship and he knew me and he knew what I did, and he never asked me what I did for a job. He never asked me anything about me as a person or my family life or anything like that. He just thought that I was there to be signed off for work. And like I said, if he'd actually asked a few questions, he would have realised that actually it couldn't have been further from the truth. So yeah, it's it, the
It's an
first.
interesting one, isn't it? It really is. It's just yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, I was just going to say, the first few negative comments I had really affected me and made me think about what I was doing and think maybe I should keep this quiet. But then you start getting the positives, and you go, no, this isn't something I want to keep quiet. This is something that people do need to learn about, and it affects a lot of people. And if they can be tested and they can get help, it doesn't just make the men's lives better, but for me, my whole family life got better. And all the people around me, the people that work with me, and it probably made their lives better. And
Yeah.
because they've actually got somebody that a colleague that when they're being asked to do something can actually concentrate and get it right, rather than making silly mistakes with things. Then you start doubting yourself. What am I doing? I can't do this job, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I've done it for years, so I can.
Plus.
Yeah, but it
And
does
it
it.
just needs to it just doesn't make sense, does it? It's that kind of doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Can I ask you some questions? I have had some questions from the
Okay.
guys in the gym,
Yeah.
actually, because I
Yeah.
told them I was going to be interviewing you,
Yeah. Absolutely.
and they were actually quite interested. So I know they're going to tune into this.
Yeah.
I had a couple of questions, mainly around I know you went private. You've gone through a private clinic to get, and if you want to share those details again, we'll definitely put them in the description below. But in terms of if you were to go to your NHS doctor, and again, one thing I do have to say is I have viewers from all over the world, which is
Yeah.
really nice. So all we can do, because we're in the UK, is talk about what happens in the UK, and we have the NHS. What do you think would be your first port of call if you think this might be a thing for you? What would you suggest?
So, in terms of the NHS, when I was researching for my article, I asked to speak with 3 NHS doctors about the subject, and all 3 of them declined to talk to me.
Okay.
One of them, somebody that I actually know on a personal level, they just didn't want to talk about it.
Okay.
So I don't think it's something that the NHS are overly keen to talk about. So you can get nowadays. It's brilliant. There's so many companies whereby you can actually get your own test kits and,
Right.
and get them sent to your home address. If you know somebody that can help you take blood, then they can take blood and you send it off. If not, then I know I'm fairly certain you could probably book an appointment with a nurse and get them to take the bloods and send it off for you. Um, I do this, and it's brilliant because you then get your results back. They get emailed to you, and you can click in, and it show you. Depending on what type of test you kind of book and pay for. I think if you wanted just a testosterone one, I think you can get them for like 20 quid from memory, something
Okay.
like
So
that.
it's not really cost prohibitive.
No,
Prohibitable.
no,
Well,
you're
you know
not.
what I mean?
Listen, it is a cost. Again, it is a cost, but you're
Yeah.
not talking hundreds of pounds or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
then you can get that email to you, and it's really easy to read all the results, and there's different sections, and it just says testosterone, and then it will give you your optimum kind of levels in green, and then I remember seeing mine in red, and the little arrow way down. So you can do that. Now, if you then realise that your levels are low, then yeah, the treatment, and you do have to go private. And
So you can't get it on the NHS.
to my knowledge, no, I don't think you can. The people that I've tried to talk to about it just won't talk to me. So
Okay.
I don't know whether you can or not. But no, I've
I think it's worth speaking to your doctor about it
absolutely, yeah. I
first.
mean,
Have
if
that chat first, and if you don't get any further, then
definitely,
there are other options. You don't, I hate to bring menopause into this again, but some of the horror stories I've heard about people going just to get HRT, which you think would be a pretty fairly regular thing. No, some
yeah,
women have to really fight for that.
right,
So,
yeah,
for this, I'd
absolutely.
say maybe try that first, but then there are lots of other options.
I think if I had known back then what I know now, when I first went to the doctors, I might have kind of suggested that,
Yeah.
I've read up on this and it could
Mhm.
possibly be this, and could I be tested for this? And, if the doctor says no, then there's nothing stopping you. Like, say,
No.
you pay your 20 quid and you get your private one done. If that then comes back as your levels are low, take those results in and say, look,
Yes.
I've been tested. There's my results. Is there anything you can do? So, for me, I think because of what I went through, and because of the doctors not wanting to help me, I never went back.
Yeah, I get
When I
that.
found Ross, and that he did the tests, I got diagnosed. He explained everything to me. Let me, speak with his doctors. Put me in a really good WhatsApp group with lots of guys that were going through the same thing.
Wow.
And all of this. So I kind of went, well, I'm just going to stay here because,
Yeah.
I'm in a lucky position that, that I do own my own company, and I am quite comfortable. So I could afford to do it. So, and I was like, well, I'm going to do that then because I don't want to go back to the NHS and have that fight or that argument or whatever it might be. Listen, I might have gone back and gone, there's my results. And he might have just gone, yeah, no problem. He might have just prescribed it. I don't know. But I just didn't, because I'd had such a horrendous experience. I didn't want to go back.
I
And I
get
was like,
that.
I'm just going to listen. I've got my treatment. I'm happy with, with paying for it. I'm happy with the company that, that I'm dealing with, etc. Then why would I go elsewhere? So
And it
But yeah,
might even be a postcode lottery as well. In the UK, we get that, what you can get and what you
absolutely.
can't get on the NHS.
Absolutely. So yeah, I can't answer the question, but certainly in terms of if you feel that it is something that you're going through and the doctor won't test you, like I say, that there are tests online that, like I say, I'm
Right.
sure they're about 20 quid. Um, there's nothing to stop you getting your own test and then going back to the doctor, with your
Yeah.
results and saying, look, I've done my own tests, there it is. Can you help? So yeah, hopefully that helps a little bit. But
Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, the doctor shouldn't have an issue giving you a full blood test, doing full bloods, because that's usually the first thing they should do if there's any concerns. But like we've
yeah,
said, that's not normal. So in terms of the treatment itself, you've already mentioned a couple of times that you do need to inject yourself. Can you talk us through that process and what's that like?
yeah. So
A bit squeamish now, I'm
yeah,
guessing it.
I'm not going to lie. When I got told, this is the treatment, and the first thing I said was, "Oh, who do I need to go and see? To be, for the
Mm.
treatment." Oh, no, 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 we send it to you, and you just inject yourself. And I was like, really? I was like, uh,
Ugh.
so yeah, the first few times, I'm probably 18 months in, I still don't like doing it. But it gets easier. So you get the the testosterone that comes in the little vials is oil based. So actually drawing it out into the syringe takes quite a long time. Right, if it's just pure liquid, it just boom out done. But you sit there, and because I then sit there going, oh, I'm going to put this in my arm in a minute. I go, yeah, and then
Yeah.
yeah, I just go, like I say, every Wednesday, every Saturday. So I go left arm, right arm, and then just put it in, done. Yeah, it's like I say, the first few times it is a bit strange, and but you do get used to it, and it's just it takes a couple of minutes done.
So
Everything's
it's
done.
not what I want to get across is it's not a big enough thing to stop you doing it,
No.
taking it. It's the benefits far outweigh a little
Oh,
tiny needle in
oh,
your arm twice a week.
absolutely. Oh
Because there will
yeah,
be some people that are going to be put off by the fact that they need to inject something. So
yeah.
let's just get it in
There,
proportion.
there are when I was in the group with the guys, some people just didn't like injecting it into their arm. For me, it made complete sense. It was easy, but some people do it into the belly fat,
Right.
which I did try a couple of times, and it's easy, really, really easy. But it didn't feel comfortable for me. I
Right.
just prefer doing it in the arm. But no, the anybody that is put off that needs treatment and is put off by the fact that they've got to inject themselves, I promise you, for the sake of doing that, the way that you'll feel afterwards is far far outweighs any injection or any sort of nervousness that you might have around
Good.
it.
Good to
You
know.
know,
And I'd really wanted to
yeah,
ask you that question because I knew there's going to be people going, "Oh, I don't want to inject."
yeah. I mean, you could always, if you've got a partner, and your partner's happy
Them
doing
to
it,
do it.
it might be easier for them, because I was always one of these people that if I ever had blood tests or anything like that, I don't mind. It doesn't bother me, but I always look the other way. I don't want to see
Yes,
it.
me too.
um,
I do. I don't mind you doing it, but I'm not looking.
yeah. So yeah, it was. We got to the point where my wife did say to me, "Do you want me to do it for you?" And I was like, "No, no. This is." It was something I felt I had to do, and it was kind of like, well, there's going to be times when you're not around, or
Yeah.
I'm going to
Need to
have to
get
do it
used
at
to
some
it.
point. So I literally straight away from the very first time, I'm like, no, I'm doing it. I'm going to do it all myself. I've got to do it. So for about, well, I'd say for about a month or two, it wasn't even to this point. I can't have anybody in the room when I do it. I have to be
Right.
completely on my own.
And quiet.
Yeah, just get it done, and then yeah,
Is this for life now? Is this something that you're going to have to carry on this treatment now for the rest of your life? Is that how it works?
it is. Yeah, I asked that exact question when I
Mm.
first, got diagnosed. I said, well, how long, is this for? Because in my head, I was thinking, well, I might have to inject for 6 months, 12 months, whatever. But no, it's one of them that some people, as they get a little bit older, kind of just gradually come off it. From what I understand, some will just stay on it for life. I'm 43, nearly I'll be 44 next month or next time, and I go, well, at the minute I'm feeling better than I have done for years and years and years. So there's not even any thought about me coming off it. It's yeah, I'm back in the gym every day. I can concentrate again. I've got my drive back. I'm ready to kind of to take the business on to new levels. So yeah, it's just become part of my week really. Like I say, I do it on a Saturday morning and a Wednesday morning. It's like it's done and dusted, and it's within 5 minutes, I get up, do it, go and have a breakfast. That's it. It's just become part of my routine, I guess.
Yeah. So it's a non-issue, really, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And because you know what the other effects are going to be. I get that with women when we're talking about HRT. Or, well, what if I forget to take it? And I'm like, you know what? Once you've suffered and then you start taking the
Yeah.
HRT, you don't forget to take it because
Yeah.
you don't want to go back to all of those brain fog and all the rest of its symptoms. So you don't forget to do
No.
it because it's that important.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. It's like I say, it's just become part of my routine. And yeah, I know how I feel today compared to how I felt 3 years ago. Um, couldn't be further apart. Couldn't be. Um, so yeah, there's never, you know, you do, might be in work on a Wednesday. Oh, I forgot to, I was in a rush this morning. It's fine, just do it tonight, and I just, the only reason I prefer doing it in the morning is because if I do it at night time, I tend to find that when I go to bed at night, I get really, really hot.
Oh,
And
really?
it brings my body temperature right up. Whereas if you do it in
It
the morning,
affects the hypothalamus. That's what that will be
is it
doing. That's why
okay?
that
Yeah,
brings your temperature up. Yeah.
yeah. So I just kind of prefer to do it in the morning because I go right. Okay, by the time in the evening, kind of back to normal again. It doesn't really affect me, but yeah, you do. Like sometimes you do. You're busy and you forget. I've got two boys who play football, and Saturday mornings are always a rush. They've lost their boots, lost their shin pads, whatever. You're
Yeah.
running around the house, and then I'll just do a Saturday afternoon or whatever, and go, yeah. It's you don't forget, like you say, if you don't do it, where you could potentially end up again, and you don't forget.
Yeah. Yeah. And in terms of, I mean, if you're happy to share, in terms of you said that typically it's around the testosterone levels for somebody who's healthy and kind of around the age of 40, it's usually around 29. You
Yeah,
went all the way down to 8.
yeah.
Where are you running at now? If you're happy to share, if you're not, that's
Yeah,
fine.
absolutely. Yeah. So my last test, I was just below 40. I think it was 39. And
And is that not too high then? Is there is
no, I
there a
didn't.
is there a too high?
No, I did. I asked the doctor, is that dangerous? Is that, and he was like, no, absolutely not. He said, ideally you want it around that optimal sort of, 29 to 30 sort of mark. That's where you want to be. So there was talk about bringing my dosage down slightly. And I kind of said, well, at the minute I feel so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just feel like I don't want to affect it in any way. I said, can I keep it as it is? He was like, yeah, that's fine. Keep it like that. So, yeah, so it's that's where it's at. That's where I'm. Like I say, I don't necessarily need. I get the blood tests every 3 months, but I don't necessarily need them because I know how I'm feeling, and I know, certainly when we first started, and they were kind of playing around with the levels a little bit, and gradually kind of creeping up. And when you get to a certain level, you go, oh, this is it. I feel better, and you go, this is where it needs to be. So yeah, although you get the blood test to show you the numbers, it's within yourself
Yeah.
how you're feeling. So yeah.
Yeah. Justin, Is there anything I haven't asked you that you think I should ask you? I think obviously had questions, but you're such an eloquent speaker that you've covered off everything that I had on my list anyway. Is there anything I haven't asked you that you think is important to
Well,
know?
no, I don't think so. I think I think what would be useful is if you can put some links. I can
Well,
send you where people can get their tests and things done. And I can certainly point people in the right direction if they've just got questions more than anything as well, or if anybody wanted to ask me about my kind of experience and my story, I'm happy. I wouldn't be happy to tell it if I wasn't sat here. So yeah,
oh.
it's I think you've asked all the right questions, and I hope that this helps at least one person.
Oh, I think it will. I think it will. And to add to that, what I would suggest that people do is maybe put questions in the comments section below this video. And if we get enough questions, will you come back on again and we'll do a Q&A?
Absolutely, yeah, I'd love to.
I
Yeah,
think that would be a good idea. Or we might even, if we get enough people, we might even do a live maybe Q&A. I don't know. I'm putting you really on the spot there, but definitely if people ask questions, perhaps we could, even if it's a shorter video, we can just address all of those. That might be a great idea.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'd be more than happy to. So yeah.
Perfect. So, anything else before we wrap up?
Yeah, I just want to thank you because, like I said, I know we spoke on Monday, and because I'd commented on your post, and I genuinely didn't realise that your post was, 12 months old. It just
Yeah.
for some reason popped up, and I just wanted to comment on it. But yeah, I just want to thank you for for what you're doing and helping me to get kind of my story out there to help others, hopefully.
Oh no, you're very welcome, and I'm really thrilled that you've come on the podcast channel today. I have released a video on Andropause, which has gone out today. We're recording this on Friday, the 27th of October, so people can have a little look at that if they haven't already. I will leave it above or below so that you can go and have a quick look at that. Finally, then, obviously, I'll leave your contact details below. If people were looking from a recruitment perspective, is there somewhere that they can go, for help with recruitment? Let's boost your business as well while we're doing this.
Yeah,
Us
absolutely.
business owners need to help each other out where we
Yeah,
can.
no, thank you. Yeah, we like I say that the majority of our work has been in the veterinary industry, but
Mhm.
we have got a new department which works in sales, marketing, security, you name it, bits and pieces. So yeah, if people wanted to have a chat, certainly
Perfect.
if they've seen this video and they've picked up my details from here, then give me a call. We'll definitely do you a good deal for taking the time to watch this and listen. So yeah, absolutely, be more than happy to help people out if they needed it.
Fantastic. Justine, thank you so much. Really appreciate you taking the time. We did have some technical issues to begin with because this is the first time I've interviewed anybody in this way. So we did have a few technical challenges. So thanks so much for your time. Thanks for hanging in there. And good luck with everything. And hopefully we'll keep in touch and do more for the channel.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Like I say, thank you so much for everything that you're doing, and yeah, I'm more than happy to answer any questions that any of your viewers might have. So no, thanks for helping getting the story out there.
Wonderful. Thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks for those of you who stay until the very end. I really appreciate you being here. Thank you.